Listen closely. Every time you talk to a woman, you're not just exchanging words. You're exchanging power. Picture this. You walk into a cafe. The lights are dim. Background music drifts slowly. She's sitting across from you, her eyes expectant. A faint smile touches her lips. You think, if you say a few clever lines, she'll be impressed. But no, in the first 5 seconds, she doesn't hear a single thing. What she feels is energy. If you're nervous, she'll notice. If your smile is forced, she'll read it. If you're trying too hard to seem interesting, she'll smell the scent of neediness. And in that very moment, you've already placed yourself beneath her, without her needing to reject you at all. Machiavelli warned 500 years ago, "The man who lets his emotions be controlled by others is the man who has given his power away forever." Men don't fail because of looks. They don't fail because of money. They fail because they speak from need instead of from strength. But today, everything changes. You will learn how to speak less, yet leave her remembering you. You will learn how to let silence become a weapon. And you will walk into any conversation with the calm of a man who does not ask for permission to exist. If you've ever fallen into the friend zone just for being too nice, comment right now, "Never again." This isn't just a comment. This is a vow you've carved into your mind. When you start speaking, in the first 5 seconds, she doesn't hear a single word. She's reading you, reading your posture, reading your eyes, reading your breath. In those 5 seconds, power is already divided. Either you walk in as a man who commands her attention, or you walk in as just another forgettable figure. Picture these two scenes. Scene 1. A man walks into a date. He gives a forced smile. His eyes dart around. He sits down and instantly blurts out, "Did you wait long? Do you want to order something else?" Everything in him screams, "Please like me." Scene 2. The man walks in. No rush, no fake smile. He sits down, eyes calm. He simply says, "I see you." No forced humor. No desperate need to prove anything. And that very simplicity makes her wonder, who is he? Why is he not like the others? Do you see the difference? One man talks a lot and loses all his magnetism. The other speaks very little, yet holds all the power. Machiavelli once wrote, "The one who shows too much desire will soon be despised." Men don't fail because they're unattractive. They fail because they radiate the signal of scarcity. Think back to yourself. Have you ever walked into a conversation and felt you had to do something to fill the silence? Have you ever broken the quiet just because you were afraid she might think you're boring? Have you ever forced a laugh just to ease the tension? If yes, be honest and comment, "That was me." Because only when you admit it can you change it. Here's the truth. You don't need to say much to dominate the first 5 seconds. All you need is calm energy, a steady gaze, a slow breath, a presence that tells her, "I am not here to beg. I am here because I choose to be." Next time you meet, try an experiment. Don't rush to talk. Just sit down, hold the silence 1 second longer than usual. Then speak slowly, clearly, decisively. You will feel the air shift. You will see her lean in toward you. Because silence creates power, and power is always noticed. The man who loses control in the first 5 seconds will have to struggle through the whole conversation to recover. The man who owns the first 5 seconds won't need to prove anything else. Remember this. The first 5 seconds are the silent battle that decides who leads. If you don't claim it, you will be claimed. So next time you open your mouth, ask yourself, am I speaking from need or from power? And if you are ready to enter every conversation as a Machiavellian man, comment right below, I choose power. Write it down to carve it into your mind. There's a truth most people never realize. When you begin speaking to a woman, the words you choose matter far less than the energy you carry. In the first 5 seconds, she doesn't truly hear your words. She observes, she feels, she reads every small detail you don't even notice. Your posture, your eyes, the way you sit down, even the silence between your breaths. In that brief moment, power has already been divided. Either you appear as a man whose calm presence demands her attention, or you are just another face among hundreds, easily forgotten. Picture these 2 scenes. Scene 1. A man walks into a date. He smiles awkwardly, eyes scanning the room as if searching for an exit. He sits down, quickly blurting out, "Did you wait long? Do you want to order something else?" He talks too much. He laughs too much, but all of it is just to hide his nerves. In her eyes, it's obvious. He's trying way too hard. Can see it. Scene 2. The man walks in. No rush, no awkwardness. He sits, eyes steady, breath slow. He says only one simple line, "I see you." No attempt to impress, no little performance. And that very simplicity carries weight. In her mind, a question rises. Who is he? Why isn't he like the others? Do you see the difference? One man spills words and loses all magnetism. The other uses only a few and controls the entire atmosphere. Machiavelli once wrote, "The one who reveals desire too quickly will soon be despised." Men don't fail because they lack looks, money, or status. They fail because they radiate the signal of scarcity. Now I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, how many times have you stepped into a conversation and felt you had to do something to fill the gap? How many times have you forced a smile just to escape the silence? How many times have you heard yourself say empty words only because you feared she might think you were boring? If this has ever been you, be honest. That was me. Because only when you admit it, do you have the power to change. In your next meeting, I want you to try a small experiment. When you sit down, don't rush to speak. Hold the silence 1 second longer than usual. Then say one short, clear, weighted line. No justifying, no rushing. Just enough for her to feel your confidence. You will notice something strange happen. The air will shift. She will lean toward you, waiting. And in that moment, you hold the frame. Here's the truth. The man who loses power in the first 5 seconds will struggle through the entire conversation to get it back. The man who controls the first 5 seconds won't need to prove anything else. So from now on, always ask yourself, am I speaking from need or from strength? And if you are ready to enter every conversation as a Machiavellian man, calm, in control, not asking for permission to exist, comment right now, I choose power. Not for me to see, but for you to carve it into your own mind. There's a bitter paradox. Most men have no idea they destroy attraction with their own hands before it even has a chance to form. Not because they're unattractive, not because they're broke, but because they speak from submission. Picture this. A man sits across from a woman he likes. From the very first moment, he showers her with endless compliments. You're so beautiful. You're amazing. I can't believe how lucky I am just to sit here with you. On the surface, it sounds polite, even charming. But deep in her subconscious, each of those words carries a hidden signal. He needs me more than I need him. And the moment that balance is broken, attraction dies. Mistake number 2. Men are terrified of tension. She gives an opinion, he instantly agrees. She teases him. He laughs it off. She stays silent. He panics to fill the gap. Everything he does is to avoid one thing: tension. But tension is the very place where desire is born. Mistake number 3. Men talk endlessly. They fear that if they stop, she'll lose interest. They believe the more they say, the more they'll impress. But the result is nothing more than a predictable flood of words. And what is too predictable quickly becomes invisible. Listen closely. Every word you say to a woman carries an unspoken message. If you compliment too much, the message is, "I need your validation." If you always agree, the message is, "You lead, I only follow." If you never stop talking, the message is, "I'm afraid of losing you if I stay silent." She may never say it out loud, but her instincts know, and her instincts are cold, ruthless, unforgiving. Machiavelli once reminded us, "The one who begs for pity is never respected." The more you try to prove your value, the more you declare you don't have any. Think back to those times you've been here. Have you ever gone on a date, come home, and wondered, why didn't she text back? Why did everything just go silent? You replay the whole night in your head and realize you did everything to make her happy except for one thing: make her curious about you. Here's the question for you. Have you ever seen yourself in this? If yes, comment right below. Stop begging. Write it down. To remind yourself, attraction does not live in submission. It dies there. The truth is, women may like you for your kindness. They may thank you for your care, but desire, the thing that makes them think of you late at night, doesn't come from comfort. It comes from tension, from curiosity, from unpredictability. And if you keep walking down the path of the nice guy trading kindness for love, you will forever remain just a friend. A psychological couch, a place for her to unload her feelings, but never the man she truly desires. Desire is not born in comfort, it is born in paradox. You can be a good man, kind, always ready to listen and share. You can send good morning texts, check in at night, offer hundreds of compliments. And the result? You don't become the man she desires. You become the safe place. But here's the ruthless truth. A woman may like you because you're pleasant. She may thank you for your care. She may lean on you as a good friend. But desire, the thing that makes her think of you even as she falls asleep, never lives in control. Desire lives in tension, in curiosity, in the feeling of, I can't predict him, I can't fully control him. Picture this: a woman has just broken up. She's sad, she needs a shoulder. One man shows up, always ready to take her calls all night, sending comforting texts, saying, I'll always be here for you. Weeks later, he realizes he has become the kind brother, the emotional couch, not the man she craves. Meanwhile, another man, neither cold nor cruel, but also not letting her take total control. He listens, but he doesn't drown in her emotions. He cares, but he doesn't turn himself into her dumping ground. He remains himself, not letting her sadness define his presence. And it's that independence that creates the paradox. She starts asking herself, why isn't he chasing me? Why doesn't he collapse under my emotions? Why is he still standing tall? This is Machiavelli's law. When you cannot be controlled, you become desirable. Think back to the last time you did everything to please a woman. You gave everything. You tried your best to make her happy. And then she left. You asked yourself, where did I go wrong? I did everything I could. Here's the answer. You created comfort. But comfort doesn't create desire. Comfort only makes people feel safe and then forget you. If you've ever been in this situation, comment right now. Desire needs tension. Write it down to carve into your mind that desire always requires space. The truth is, women do not desire a man they can completely control. They may appreciate him, but they cannot crave him. Desire only arises when there is a part of him they cannot reach, a mystery they cannot solve, a question without an immediate answer. So if you want to be the man she thinks about in her quietest moments, don't turn yourself into the absolute safe place. Be the paradox, close, yet untouchable, caring, but never dependent, present, but never owned. It is in that very space that desire is born. There's one thing you must understand. In a woman's world, most men follow the same script. The script of, please like me. The script of, I'll do whatever you want. The script of, I'll prove I'm worthy. But the truth is, any man who follows that script will remain invisible. Desire is not for the predictable. Desire is for the one who stands apart. Picture this, a party. 10 men surround a beautiful woman, all saying the same things, compliments, jokes, desperate attempts to impress. And then there's one man, standing apart. He doesn't push his way in. He doesn't rush to introduce himself. When her eyes meet his, he gives only a light, effortless smile. He doesn't run to her. He lets her walk toward him. In that instant, difference is created. He is not like the rest. And because of that, she has to notice. Machiavelli once wrote, "The one who breaks the familiar pattern is always remembered." So, Veet, you don't need to be the most handsome man in the room. You don't need to be the richest. You don't need to be the loudest. What you need is to walk in with the calm of a man who does not need recognition. Ask yourself, have you ever blended into the crowd? Have you ever spoken yet, felt you left no mark at all? If the answer is yes, comment right now, "I refuse to be forgettable." Let it remind you, I will no longer be invisible. Difference is not in what you try to display. It's in what you don't do. You don't rush to agree. You don't dance to her emotions. You don't fear silence. You don't get controlled by a glance or a smile. You stand within your own frame. You hold your own energy. And that creates mystery. In a woman's eyes, a man who stands apart is an anomaly. And the human mind is always drawn to anomalies. She may know dozens of predictable men, but the moment one anomaly appears, all the others vanish from her memory. Remember this, people don't crave what they fully understand. They crave what they cannot yet grasp. So how do you become the man who stands apart? Not by wearing a mask of arrogance, not by faking a cool act, but by entering with the composure of a man who knows his own value. No proving, no begging, no comparing. You are the difference. When you're brave enough to not be like the rest. There's a truth most men never realize. When you talk to a woman, you're not really talking to her. You're talking to her ego. That ego works like an invisible radar. Every glance you give, every word you speak, every small gesture you make is scanned. And that radar has only one mission: to detect weakness. Weakness is not always trembling, sweating, or stuttering. Weakness is the energy you bring. It's when you walk in thinking, "I hope she likes me." It's when you walk in. It's when you try to prove, "I'm good enough for her to accept me." It's when you force a smile to cover your nerves. All it takes is a single moment, and that radar picks up the signal. And in her mind, a voice whispers, "Another one I can control." And once she believes she can control you, desire disappears. Picture this. She goes silent, and you panic, rushing to fill the gap. She teases you, and you scramble to explain yourself. She acts distant, and you immediately soften and back down. Every action sends the same message. You lead, I follow. And you know what? No one desires someone they already own completely. Machiavelli once warned, "The man who can be read too quickly will soon be controlled. Be honest with yourself. Have you ever been in a moment when she didn't need to say a word, just a cold glance was enough to throw you off? Have you ever been tested with silence and you couldn't bear it? You had to blurt something meaningless just to break the tension. If you've been there, comment right now. No more weakness. Write it down to remind yourself that from now on, you will no longer live under the control of someone's glance or smile. Here's the truth. A woman's ego does not crave predictable men. A woman's ego craves a paradox. A man who remains calm under tests. A man who doesn't rush to prove himself. A man who holds his composure even when she tries to shake him. In her eyes, that's not just confidence. That's power. And it's that power that prevents her from putting you in the same box as the rest. You become a question mark, a puzzle without a solution. And in her effort to decode you, desire begins to grow. Remember this. You don't win by saying more. You win by holding your frame unmoved by someone else's ego. Women don't crave logical words. They crave what forces them to imagine. You can say, "You're so beautiful. I like you." But the truth is, she has heard those lines 1,000 times. The clearer the words, the more predictable they are, the more invisible they become in her mind. Desire doesn't live in clarity. Desire lives in ambiguity, in the empty spaces that haven't yet been filled. Picture this. You look straight into her eyes, voice low and slow, and say, "There's something about you that pulls me in and yet feels dangerous." Then silence. No explanation. No rush. What happens? In her head, a loop begins. What did he see in me? Why both magnetic and dangerous? Dangerous in what way? Each of those questions is a rope pulling her attention back to you. Machiavelli once emphasized, when others must guess your intentions, you already hold the upper hand. Think back to the last time you tried too hard to keep her attention. You told a long, rambling story. You forced a laugh. You stacked compliments. And then her eyes started drifting away. Do you see yourself in that picture? If yes, comment right now. No more over-talking. Here's the truth. You don't need many words to create desire. You need intentional silences. A gaze held longer than usual. A sentence left unfinished. An ambiguity that forces her ego to chase for answers. Picture this. Two people sitting in a cafe. He leans in, speaking softly. "You make me more curious than anyone I've ever met." Then he stops, takes a sip of water. Silence. In that moment, her mind spins with 100 thoughts. And the more it spins, the deeper she falls into the invisible trap. This is the language of desire. Not the language of logic, but the language of suggestion, of implication, of silences that let her imagination do the rest. Next time you talk to a woman, try stopping halfway. Don't rush to explain. Leave a thought hanging. You'll see her eyes waiting. You'll see silence turn into a bridge. And right there, desire is born. If you're ready to try, comment, "I speak with silence." Because once you understand that silence itself is a language, you step into a level 90% of men will never reach. Remember this. Words can be forgotten, but the feeling you leave in the silence will haunt her long after. Your presence can leave an impression, but it's your absence that creates obsession. Most men make a fatal mistake. The moment they feel a bit of attention, they immediately start chasing. Texting non-stop, finding every excuse to call, updating social media just to be noticed. They believe the more they appear, the more they'll stay in her mind. The truth is the exact opposite. Showing up too much makes you predictable. And what's predictable is always taken for granted. Machiavelli once said, "Wise absence creates a fear stronger than constant presence." Picture this. After a first date, a man leaves a strong impression. But instead of flooding her with messages, he stays silent. One day, 2 days, she starts thinking, what is he doing? Why hasn't he reached out? Her mind begins writing the story on its own, and that emptiness becomes a mirror magnifying her curiosity. Think back to the last time you texted endlessly, waiting for a reply. You opened your phone 1020 times a day. And the result? The more you texted, the quieter she became. Have you ever seen yourself in that situation? If yes, comment right now. No more chasing. Strategic disappearance is not a childish game. It's not ghosting out of anger. It's not silence as manipulation. It is a Machiavellian tactic. You disappear not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Because you understand this. Space creates gravity. A real-life example. You say something ambiguous. There's something about you that pulls me in, and yet feels dangerous. Then you stop. No explanation. No rush to reach out afterward. You let silence do the work. In the following days, she replays every detail. The look in your eyes, your tone, that pause. And her imagination multiplies the power of that moment. When you return, you're not just the man from a single conversation. You're the main character in the story her mind has built. Think back. Have you ever vanished from a conversation, and when you came back, she immediately asked, "Why did you take so long to text?" That is proof. Silence can weigh more than 1,000 words. If you're ready to use absence as a weapon, comment, "Silence is power." Remember this, when you disappear strategically, you don't lose value. On the contrary, you double it. Because the right absence turns you into a question mark in her mind. And a question mark is always stronger than a ready-made answer. Disappearance is only half of the tactic. The other half is how you come back. Most men ruin everything at this step. After a few days of silence, they return with apologies. "I was so busy. Sorry I didn't text sooner. I was afraid you'd be mad. I thought maybe you didn't want to talk anymore." Every one of those lines reveals the same truth. You're still asking for permission to exist in her world. Machiavelli would never advise such weakness. He once wrote, "The man who returns in weakness is despised more than the one who never returned at all." So what kind of return creates power? Picture this. You leave a strong impression in the conversation. You disappear for a few days. And then, one evening, when she least expects it, you send, "Just heard a song. It reminded me of you." Or, "Had a strange dream. Not sure if I should tell you yet." Short, ambiguous, no apologies, no explanations, just a spark of mystery. In that moment, her mind ignites with questions. Why did he think of me? Why so vague? What was the dream? She is pulled back in not because you chased her, but because her own imagination bound her to you. Think back to the last time you rushed your return. You sent a flood of messages. You explained your silence. You feared losing your place. And the result? The more you explained, the more you lost the mystery. The more you explained, the more predictable you became. Have you ever been there? If yes, comment, "No more weak returns." Remember, in the court it is pressed, because one weak return can destroy everything you built. A powerful return isn't about how many words you use. It's about planting a question and letting her answer it in her own mind. One ambiguous text can be stronger than 10 paragraphs of explanation. One calm smile upon meeting again can leave a deeper mark than 1,000 apologies. A real-life example. A man had met a woman a few times. He always stayed composed, never rushing. After a week of silence, he returned with one message. "You just crossed my mind." Dangerous, really. The line was not clear, but it was enough for her to think about him the entire evening. This is Machiavellian art. You don't need to chase to be remembered. You become the memory that repeats in her mind through a return done with intent. Next time you want to send a long message explaining yourself, stop. Ask yourself, am I seeking validation or am I creating mystery? If the answer is validation, delete that message immediately. If you're ready to return as a Machiavellian man, comment, I return with power. Remember this, anyone can come back, but only a few know how to return, like a cold wind that makes others shiver. And those men are the ones who can never be forgotten. You've just traveled a long path. From the very first moment you open your mouth to the art of silence, the strategy of disappearance, and the power of the return. Each lesson orbits one simple truth. Attraction does not live in words. It lives in the power you keep inside. Women don't remember every sentence you say, but they remember the feeling you leave behind. If you make them curious, they will think of you when you're gone. If you plant a question with no easy answer, their mind will come back searching for you. If you hold your calm, even when tested, you become an untamable paradox. Machiavelli wrote, "The man who is respected is the one who never lets another hold power over his emotions." That is the essence of attraction. Not looks, not money, but the ability to master yourself. Ask yourself this, will you continue to be the man who speaks from need, or will you become the man who speaks from strength? If you are ready, comment now. I am the prize, not for me to see, but for you to carve into your mind that from today you stop asking permission to exist in anyone's world. And this is only the beginning. In the next video, I will reveal a Machiavellian strategy that makes not only women, but anyone, friends, colleagues, rivals, play by your rules. Don't miss it.